I'm sorry, I just can't do this. You're just...
Not what I was expecting.
She had finally gathered the courage to try online dating again. The dress made her feel bold, even beautiful, despite the voices in her head that whispered otherwise. Her date, Marcus, was already 10 minutes late. Claire smoothed the fabric over her lap and took a sip of water, trying to calm the flutter in her chest. Then she saw him walk in. Tall, confident, scanning the room with the cool efficiency of someone checking off a task. His eyes landed on her table, and Claire watched his expression shift from curiosity to disappointment in the span of a heartbeat. He approached slowly, and Claire felt her stomach tighten with familiar dread. "Claire?" he asked, though his tone suggested he already knew the answer and wished he didn't. "Yes, that's me," she said, smiling despite the ache building in her throat. "You must be Marcus." He sat down reluctantly, pulling out his phone almost immediately. "Listen, I'm going to be honest with you. Your photos looked different. I mean, a lot different." Claire's cheeks burned. She had used recent photos, honest ones, but she knew what he meant. She wasn't the size society celebrated. She was curvy, full-figured, and apparently, not what Marcus had hoped for. "I understand if you'd like to leave," Claire said quietly, holding on to the last shred of her dignity. Marcus glanced at his watch. "Yeah, I think that's probably best. I've got an early meeting anyway. No hard feelings, right?" He stood up without waiting for her response and walked toward the door, leaving Claire alone at the table with 2 menus and the weight of her own disappointment. She stared out at the rain, fighting back tears. The restaurant buzzed with conversation around her, but she felt utterly invisible, utterly alone. Then someone cleared their throat beside her. A man in his early 40s stood there, wearing a cream polo and an expression of genuine concern. He had kind eyes, the kind that crinkled at the corners from years of smiling through difficulties. "I'm really sorry to intrude," he said gently. "But I was sitting over there with my daughter, and we both saw what just happened. Are you all right?" Claire looked past him and saw a young girl, maybe 10 years old, watching with worried eyes from a nearby table. "I'm fine," Claire lied, her voice cracking slightly. "Just one of those things." The man hesitated, then gestured to the empty chair. "My name is David Torres. Would you mind if I sat down for just a moment? I promise I'm not some random stranger trying to hit on you. I just think someone needs to say something, and it might as well be me." Something in his voice, warm and steady, made Claire nod. David sat down across from her, the same seat Marcus had abandoned minutes before. "I lost my wife 3 years ago to cancer," he began, and Claire's eyes widened. During her treatment, she gained weight from the medication. It changed how she looked, but you know what it didn't change? The sound of her laugh. The way she sang off-key while cooking. How she could make our daughter feel safe with just a hug. He paused, his voice thick with emotion. That man who just left, he walked away from someone without even trying to know who she is. And I've learned something in the last 3 years. We waste so much time judging covers when the story inside is what actually matters. Claire felt tears spilling down her cheeks now, but they were different than the ones she had been holding back before. "My daughter Emma, she asked me why that man was so rude to the pretty lady in the red dress," David continued, smiling softly. "And I told her that some people never learn to see past the surface. But that doesn't mean the surface isn't beautiful too." "Thank you," Claire whispered. "You didn't have to do this." "Actually, I think I did," David said. "Because my wife always told me that kindness isn't kind if you only offer it when it's convenient. Real kindness shows up in the hard moments, for strangers, for people who are hurting." He stood up slowly. "Emma and I would be honored if you join us for dinner. No pressure, no expectations. Just 3 people sharing a meal on a rainy evening. What do you say?" Claire looked over at Emma, who waved shyly, her face bright with hope. "I'd like that very much," Claire said, and meant it. They moved to David's table, and what followed was one of the most unexpected evenings of Claire's life. Emma told knock-knock jokes that weren't quite funny but made them all laugh anyway. David shared stories about his work as a teacher, about the small victories that made difficult days worthwhile. And Claire found herself opening up in ways she hadn't in years, talking about her love of gardening, her complicated relationship with her mother, her dream of opening a bookstore someday. As the evening wound down, Emma looked up at her father. "Dad, can Claire come to my piano recital next week? She said she loves music." David looked at Claire, his expression hopeful but cautious. "Only if she wants to. No pressure." Claire felt something shift inside her, like a door opening after being locked for too long. "I'd love to come." They exchanged numbers, and as Claire walked to her car through the gentle rain, she realized something profound. The evening hadn't gone as planned. It had gone better. Because sometimes, the best moments in life aren't the ones we arrange. They're the ones that find us when we're brave enough to stay open, even after disappointment. David called her 3 days later. Then again the following week. Their friendship grew slowly, naturally, built on conversations about everything and nothing, on shared values and mutual respect. 6 months later, Claire wore that same red dress to Emma's spring concert. And when David reached for her hand during the performance, it felt like the most natural thing in the world. The dress hadn't changed. The woman wearing it hadn't changed. But the story, the beautiful, unexpected story, had only just begun.